Is it the skyline, the economy, population growth? Or is it something harder to measure? Something you feel the moment you arrive, a sense of energy, of possibility, of belonging. Because here's the truth. People don't fall in love with infrastructure. They fall in love with shared experiences and with a sense of community. And the cities that understand that are going to be the ones that are winning in the future. When we talk about infrastructure, we usually mean the physical systems that make a city function. Transportation, energy, water. And yes, those are essential. They make daily life function. But they don't make people stay. Because cities aren't machines. They are living, breathing ecosystems of people. And people don't just want efficiency. They want community, identity, and meaning. Great cities don't just work, they resonate. Cultural infrastructure is the network of institutions, spaces, and experiences that shape how we interact with one another and with where we live. It's museums, symphonies, libraries, festivals, theaters, and it's moments. It's the first moment a young child comes to the Columbus Symphony and hears the awesome power of live orchestral music for the first time and says to their parent, I want to learn to play one of those instruments. It's the first moment that you're walking through a gallery and you stop in front of a painting because it speaks to you. It's the moment when you are seeing your story represented for the first time on stage or on screen. These moments might seem small at first, but they're not, because that's how connection begins, and that's how belonging takes root. Culture is how a city tells its story. Culture is also how a city introduces itself to the world and to its own people. If you look at the great cities that have transformed themselves over the past few decades, a pattern starts to emerge. So we're going to take a little journey together. We're going to travel first to Spain, to Bilbao. The Guggenheim Museum Bilbao is often held up as a symbol of transformation, but the story is more interesting. Bilbao, at the time, was a declining industrial city marked by steel mills and shipyards and was struggling to define itself. And when it was first suggested that investing in a cultural institution could be a solution, there was, shall we say, skepticism. But if you fast forward to today, the museum is attracting over 1 million visitors a year, contributing billions in economic activity, and it has really redefined the story of the city. In fact, today, Bilbao is considered a global cultural destination. So now we'll take a little flight over to Norway, to Oslo. This is the Oslo Opera House. You know, culture doesn't just change economies. It changes how people interact with their city every single day. This project wasn't just designed as a performance venue. It was designed as public space. You can walk on the roof. I have, maybe some of you have. You can sit down by the waterfront. You can gather with friends and family, even if you're not going to a performance inside. Helped to anchor the waterfront, and it made culture an accessible and visible part of daily life. Now we'll fly back to the States, South Florida, Miami, to the New World Symphony, where I had the pleasure of working for 10 years. This Frank Gehry designed building really was centered around the idea of reimagining the concert hall and using technology to do that. So you can see here these sails, these surfaces on which images and media can be projected. And it really asked the question, what would happen if we build a cultural institution not around tradition, but around access? One of the answers at New World is a cultural phenomenon called the wallcast. So the wallcast is a live simulcast of the concert that's happening in the hall on the exterior wall of the building, which becomes a 7,000 square foot projection screen. So you've got 750 people inside. And what happened when they made this investment? The audience didn't just grow incrementally. It magnified and multiplied. So outside, you often have 1,500, 2,000, sometimes up to 4,000 people in the park. And what's more, these audiences are intergenerational, they are more diverse and more reflective of the demographics of Miami, and they're social. People come in groups of 5 or more. That's cultural relevance. So we've looked at 3 different ideas, 3 cities, but what they share is really this idea that these cultural buildings aren't just buildings, they're invitations. We're living through a shift today in how cities compete. Talent today is mobile, and companies actually follow talent. And people are asking different questions. Where can I belong? Where can I be inspired? Where can I build a life, not just a career? Cultural infrastructure helps to answer those questions. It helps to make people care. And what happens when they care? They invest, they advocate, they build a life for themselves. So belonging isn't a soft outcome. It's actually a competitive advantage. In my work, I've seen what happens when cities treat culture as core infrastructure, not an amenity, not an afterthought, but as a priority. It changes who shows up, it changes who feels welcome, and it changes what people think is possible. Right now in Columbus, we have the opportunity to build a cultural ecosystem that invites more people in, that is reflective of our full community, and that clearly states this is a place that values creativity, that invests in connection, and this is a place where you belong. So yes, we should continue investing in roads and housing and technology, but we should also be asking a bigger question. What does it mean to build a city where people don't just live, but want to stay? Because the cities of the future won't just be the most efficient, they'll be the most inspiring. And the cities that understand that, they will be the ones that understand that cultural infrastructure isn't a luxury. It's a signal of who we are and who we want to become. And if we can get that right, we won't just be building better cities, we'll be building places that people are proud to call home. Thank you.